guys, how are we doing? Welcome to Talking Boxing. It is Monday, October. It's not October, is it? Hang on. I haven't changed that. It is November the 3rd. Let me change that live as we go. Geez, I'm off to a great start, aren't I? Hang on. Where are we? November the 3rd. Great to have everyone along. There is, looks like there's quite a few in the chat at the moment, which is good. I'll get to your comments in a minute. There you go. I've updated the page there. If you're listening afterwards on Spotify, you won't get to see this, but probably a good thing. But to repeat, it is Monday, November the 3rd, 2025. And as I said, a few in the chat I can see at the moment. We got there Big J, old mate Big J. We've got Shadow Boxer, Drew Keeley, Ryan Gray, Tony Clifton. Who else we got there? Eminem. What's this? It must be a new one there. You've been iced. How are you there, mate? Timmy T, Richard, and just to name a few. So Tony Clifton there as well. Welcome all aboard. If you're not sure how this works, as the title says there, it is called Talking Boxing, which means you guys decide which direction we take. Put your comments, questions, whatever it might be in the chat, and let's get things rolling. What do we got here? We'll start with old mate Big J. As usual, always first in. What do we got, Big J? Looks like the fight with the chump could be off. This is, of course, your fight with Jay McAllister, who was in the news last week. Looks like Zarafa will be stepping in. I actually think it's a great undercard fight for Nikita versus Mick. Well, if you didn't know, and obviously last week, was it last Wednesday or Thursday, whatever it was? I think it was Wednesday. We had the press conference for the Nikita Michael Zarafa fight. So I'm sure there's lots of questions about that in the chat at the moment. But yeah, if you didn't see it, Jay McAllister, who does great things as far as the social media, as a journalist, that is, a social media sort of arena that he's in, and gets around to all the big fights and events and interviews everyone. Well, apparently along the line, he's had a bit of a fallout with Michael Zarafa, which is pretty surprising that no one in the media ever has a fallout with Michael Zarafa, do they? But the chump did. And I got to say, Jai, he impressed me, Big J. Didn't take a backward step. He's actually a pretty big unit, isn't he, Jai? I've never really noticed that before. I've obviously met him a few times and never really noticed that he's actually got a bit of size about him. Don't know whether he's been working out. But didn't take a backward step even when Michael Zarafa threatened to knock him out right there and then. And it was an interesting you could see it was interesting proceedings. You could see Nikita Zoo and his team all sitting at the table thinking it was hilarious. Someone's obviously recorded it and uploaded it. The Herald Sun here in Melbourne, but I'm sure all around the nation have picked up on it. They picked the story up and run with it. That Michael Zarafa has had a run-in with a journo. Look, I did comment on this last week, and look, I understand Michael probably feels he's been hard done by in a lot of ways by people in the media, me included. He's had a crack at me before, and that's cool. I can wear it. I'm not really worried about that. But it's got to be a little bit of, I don't know, what do you call it? A bit of professionalism, a bit of class, maybe. I don't know. But just, I don't know. I mean, Jay would have obviously just asked him for an interview. I mean, it's okay to maybe say to Jay, hey, mate, I'm not interested, whatever. But to have this altercation, thought it was a bit dramatic for me. And as I said, Jay just stood up and said, no, mate, I'm not stepping back here. I've done nothing wrong. Shadowbox, you've obviously asked the question there, what's the actual backstory? Yeah, well, apparently what happened, Shadowboxer, is that apparently back in the COVID times when the Tim Tszyu, Michael Zarafa fight was supposed to happen, of course, Michael or his team, whoever it was, the fight was off. Okay, the team or whatever has pulled out of the fight. And Jay McAllister has apparently shared something on social media. I think it was Twitter or X or whatever it is these days. And Michael Zarafa has taken exception to it. I don't know exactly what the post was, but whatever it was, Michael didn't take kindly to it and proceeded to hold a grudge against Jay. And I don't think they've spoken since. And apparently before that, they actually were quite, well, I won't say they were close, but they had a good working relationship, if that makes sense. So that's sort of the backstory there, Shadow Boxer. But I'm sure there'll be another chapter to it. But I thought Jay, he was probably the more professional of the two, I thought. But anyway, we'll move on. This is Big J, still no announcement regarding Tim. I don't think December 17 will happen. It just seems too early to develop those changes he needs to become successful. Well, this is the Phoenix now, Big J. Tim the Phoenix Zoo. I probably like it a little bit better than the Soul Taker. I never really liked that name, and I'm not sure whether that was his official nickname anyway. I don't think he even really had one. It was just Tim Zoo, and everyone sort of called him the Soul Taker. The Phoenix, I know the reason he's chosen Phoenix, by the way, it's on his social media post that like a phoenix is going to rise from the ashes and everyone's written him off and I'm going to come back bigger and better than ever. That's the reason for the name. But it's going to take a little bit to grow on me, Big J. The Phoenix, don't know. Tim the Phoenix Zoo, don't know. But anyway, December 17, yeah. Well, what is it? It's about 6 weeks away. You never know, Big J. You never know. By all accounts I've heard, he definitely wants to fight on that date. I mean, is it as long shot as what Anthony Joshua is for fighting before the end of the year? Probably not. But yeah, December 17th, it's been 6 weeks away. Yeah, it's going to be a stretch, Big J. But look, if he's fighting, or sorry, not fighting, if he's sparring, he's training, he's ready to go, 6 weeks is not that long. Really, they could pencil a card in next week. Only needs a very limited build up to it. You've got to remember how easy it is to market Tim Zoo. So if they suddenly come up with some journeyman from America, what's his name, Joey Spencer type, there's plenty of them out there. All they've got to do is go to venue here in Australia, put it on or do the press conference or whatever it might be. They only need probably a month leading, Big J. Everyone's going to flock to the event. They're going to buy pay-per-views. They don't need a lot of time. So I'm still going to probably stick with, I think it does happen, but I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't. But if I had to hedge my bets either way, I'm going to say he does fight on December 17, because by all accounts, the Nikita and Michael Zarafa fight, of course, was scheduled for this date. It was moved because of Tim, and ended up being pretty fortuitous because of what happened with Nikita in the car accident. So I think it's all sort of worked out, but we'll soon see, Big J. But yeah, I'm probably still leaning towards he will fight. He will fight. So we'll see. Eminem, where are you there, mate? I've got your comment here. I've just got him in front of me here. Where are you? Actually, I think I'm just going to scrap that. Forget the order they're in on my phone. I'm going to go to what the order they're in on the screen here. It's a lot easier. Old mate Big J, why do boxers need nicknames? The Phoenix for Tim seems a little corny. Well, maybe it's a temporary nickname, Big J, and maybe it's just a theme that he's running with at the moment. I'm going to go with the Phoenix as the theme of my comeback, as I said before. The whole rising from the ashes, all that sort of stuff. And it's probably just something he needs some sort of mantra to keep him on the straight and narrow and give him some incentive and motivation to get back to where he was. So, yeah, I will agree it's a little corny. Big J, I mean, why do boxers need nicknames? Do you really need to ask that question? I mean, not just boxers, but a lot of sports people have nicknames. Football, cricket, whatever, they've all got nicknames. Boxing, it's tradition and it's history, and it helps marketing, whatever it might be. And a lot of the times, the fighters are the ones that don't actually come up with the nicknames. It's actually bestowed upon them by, might be fans or team members or the media, whoever it might be. So I think that's not a bad thing to have a nickname. I think it's great. But I do agree that the corny aspect of Tim does sort of hit home a little bit too. All right, Drew, nice recap on Zoo versus Judah this morning. Thanks, mate. The fight feels like yesterday. You described it the way I remembered it. My father, rest in peace. Yeah, rest in peace to him, Drew. My father and I looked at each other after the first round thinking Kostiuk was cactus. Yeah, and if you didn't see that this morning, guys, check out my little special on it on walking boxing this morning. Pretty much the whole episode is around that fight. And it's probably pretty fitting that in the intro to this show that you see the right hand that Kostiuk hits Zab Judah with. Now, actually, I think I said that he went to his left, but I think he actually went to his right and was on his way back to the left, and then the right hand comes straight down the middle. I think he might have thrown two right hands, one missed or just missed, and the next one straight down the middle and lights out. And I'm sure you got some comments there, guys, but my main thing with it was that Zab Judah got up way too fast, and it's just instinct. a fighter's instinct of being knocked down. I've just got to get up. And obviously the brain wasn't ready to recalibrate or whatever it was. And that's when he went down. And that's when the referee, Jay Nady, I think it was, didn't have a choice but to stop the fight. If he just had taken a knee, taken the 8 count, I'm sure he would have been fine. Went back to the corner, and who knows what might have happened next. But this what ifs and all this sort of stuff obviously doesn't count, because at the end of the day, he was hit with a right hand, he was knocked out, and that is life. That is the end of the story. So, but what a fight it was, though, Drew. And I think I said on the episode, I think everyone remembers where they were, and you obviously do, and that's great that you got that memory with your late dad. But yeah, I'm with you, mate. I was a bit worried. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's a 12-round fight. It was probably always going to happen that Zab Judah was going to probably get the better of Costa early. The question was whether he could continue that for 12 rounds, which is a long, long time. So, yeah, a great story of Australian history. I didn't mention, actually, I think I mentioned Waters and Norris, Andrews and Harding and Jeff Fennick and Azuma Nelson. I didn't mention George Kambosos with that win over Teofimo Lopez, and of course Liam Paro's win over Sabril Matias. They are just the best moments of Australian fighters performing overseas. It was fantastic. All right, Ryan. Hey all, is it true that Wardley has tested positive to steroids post the Parker fight? Or was that fake news? Ooh, I haven't heard that, Ryan. Judging by your comment above that, Richard has answered that. I'll get to that as I go down the page, but I haven't heard that, Ryan. I can't comment on that, mate. That's the first I've heard of it, so probably fake news, I would say. All right, Tony. Trivia question, if you're up for it. Yep. A 1985 press conference. Who wore a red baseball cap with war on the front? Love Monday nights. That would have been Marvelous Marvin Hagler, Tony, before the Hearns fight, I would say. And I'm sure someone has answered that further down the chat, but that was definitely Marvelous Marvin Hagler, mate. All right, we've got a super chat, $10 from Andy. How are you, mate? Thanks very much for the $10. Hello, boxing fans. Good on Jay for standing up for himself. This is Jay McAllister. Nikita versus Zarafa should be a goodie, though. Zach Parker, Rob versus Boazzi, in my opinion, yeah. Along the same lines, Andy. And smash that like button, please. Yeah, thanks you very much again, Andy. Yeah, was good for Jay. Zarafa and Nikita will be a great fight, though, Andy. I agree with you. It's going to... I'm already champing at the bit to see, one, whether Michael Zarafa is as good as probably he says he is, and whether Nikita Tszyu is as good as we think he is. So it's a lot of questions to be answered. I know a lot of people have gone for Michael Zarafa, and I'm not going to argue with them. They're entitled to their opinion. You all know my opinion. I think Nikita Tszyu wins the fight, but it's not going to be easy. And I've never said that. And if Michael Zarafa wins, no problem at all. I will happily take my hat off to him and say I was wrong. Just in my honest opinion, I just think that Nikita Tszyu, I think Michael's style will suit Nikita Tszyu, and that he's just very proper, I suppose. Fights the way an elite fighter should fight, with no, I think I've said this before, no unpredictable punches being thrown or a style that's all over the place, very up and down. Just fights the typical traditional way, nice jab followed by a nice right hand, good footwork, all that sort of stuff. And I think the fact that he is that type of typical, well, what a fighter should fight like, I think that really works into Nikita's hands. And I think that you'll see a really good performance by Nikita Tszyu, and I think he'll pick Michael Zarafa apart. But what happens when he gets hit? That is the big question. So we will see soon enough. All right. Old mate Big J. Still no announcement regarding Tim. Oh, no, I've been through that one. Today marks 24 years. I've got that one. Yeah, 24 years since Costa made Judah do that zombie dance. Great stuff. The best part was his post-fight interview. Costa, will there be a rematch? Winner take all. Yes. Yep. And look, just a fighter's fighter was Costa Tszyu. I mean, just so professional inside and outside the ring, the way he prepared himself, just the way he conducted himself, just everything about it, whether he trained or just interviews, just the ultimate I suppose, role model for any young fighter coming up, and not just maybe coming up, any role model for any fighter in general. This is how you conduct yourself inside the ring and outside the ring. And yeah, it's hard to believe, Big J. It's been 20 years since we've seen him in the ring. All right. Who's Andrew fighting next year? That's Andrew Maloney. He's going to fight the winner of Willabaldo Garcia and Kenshiro Tarashi, Big J. So that fight is on December 27th in Japan, and Andrew Maloney will fight the winner of that fight, probably, I think, in April or May next year is the talk at the moment. So I think I said last week, as far as Andrew goes, that just purely a stay busy fight. It's probably the only fight that could get at this stage. It's been a very, very frustrating 2025 for Andrew. I think he said he's had 2 or 3 fights fall over this year. We all know the big one in Mexico. So I'm glad that he at least got back in the ring. I know the opponent wasn't exactly world class, but I mean, you take a fight just to get the motor humming again. And I think he said in the social media post that he just feels good just to blow off the cobwebs. He got 5 rounds out of it. Probably could have finished it a little bit earlier, but I've got no problems with him wanting to get a few rounds in there. And now it feels like it's the best thing he's done in preparation for that fight next year. Because by the time that fight comes around, if he hadn't fought on the weekend, it would have been 18 months between fights, which is a long, long time. So really glad that he at least got something to see out the year. So you've been iced. What do you got there? Iced? What's the percentage you think will get Virgil against Boots early to mid 2026? Well, if you listen to Eddie Hearn and everyone and Oscar De La Hoya, mate, you'll see that they're very confident it'll get done. The only sticking point I can probably see is Oscar De La Hoya maybe playing hardball, but he's been pretty vocal. He wants the fight. Eddie Hearn's been equally vocal as well. The fighters have been vocal. So the only reason it might not come off is because of money. They're iced. That's the only thing I can think of, is that in some way or whatever, in some shape or form, that one of the fighters, I'm probably predicting it would be the Golden Boy fighter, Virgil Ortiz, prices himself out of it. So I think it's going to happen. I think it will. As I said, both fighters plus the teams have been very vocal about wanting to happen. So I think it will, mate. So keep an eye out for that one to get announced. All right. What do you got there? Timmy T. I hope I got this in order here. Forgive me too, guys. I'm reading these out of order. For some reason, the first few comments come up out of order. Timmy T88. Tank. Is that you, Timmy Zeus? No, can't be, can it? The Phoenix? No, it's Timmy T. All right, Tank graduated from assault to now kidnapping. This is Tank Davis. Since 2018, it's been a long rap sheet. Do you think Tank should even be allowed to participate in boxing when every year another female screaming assault? Oh, look, it's a good question, Timmy. I'm certainly not a fan of Tank Davis if all these allegations are true. And the thing is, there's been so many allegations and charges and all this sort of stuff. Well, obviously there's something going on, isn't there? Not my favourite person in the world, Timmy. But as far as do I think he should be allowed to participate? Well, it's a really difficult question, Timmy. I mean, is there anything in place to say he shouldn't be allowed to fight? I don't think he should be benefiting out of, boxing when all this is going on. But at the end of the day, I mean, I suppose there's no laws or anything to say he can't fight. The sanctioning bodies, I suppose, maybe the WBA could look at stripping him. But then is he able to sue them for wrong? Is there such a thing as wrongful stripping? I don't know. But yeah, I'm not sure. Morally, you're probably right, Timmy, but I don't think there's anything in place that says he can't be allowed to fight. We've seen prisoners in jail actually fight in prison, Timmy, back in the day. Who was it? Was it Marvin Johnson? Or I think there was someone. It's happened a couple of times where there's been fights in jail. I think it was Marvin Johnson back in the day, in the 80s. Or late 70s, whatever it was. But yeah, as I said, Timmy, I think morally, no, but there's no law to say he can't. So I suppose as there's no law in place, as long as he's not in jail and being convicted of anything, well, maybe he should be allowed to fight. But can he be sued for some portion of that money by the victim? I suppose that's what's happening anyway, isn't it now? So he's being sued by whoever his ex-girlfriend was or partner. It's a tough question, Timmy, but there's no real right or wrong answer in that. While there's nothing in place, I suppose nothing can be done. Eminem. What kind of opponent are we thinking Tim Zoo's next opponent will be? I looked at the top 50 on BoxRec and there's a lot of risky fights. Yeah, Eminem, there's a lot of risky fights, but there's also a lot of non-risky fights. So I will think it'll be someone not risky. I think it'll be someone that No Limit can build up to be this real threat and, a monster and, the boogeyman, whatever you might want to call him, that just someone that they can build up and market like they did with Joey Spencer. They did a really good job of building up a very, very, very average fighter and building him up into people thinking he actually had a chance against him. That's the type of fighter they will get. And there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever, by the way. Nothing wrong. He needs an opponent like this. It'll be some, as Big J will say in there, some tomato can. That's who it'll be. And I've got no issues with it. It's a comeback fight. All I'm asking, and I know it won't be the case because they're promoters, all I would sort of request humbly is that No Limit and Tim to some extent call it for what it is. It's a comeback fight. Don't expect a superstar that he's fighting. Just be honest with us. He's a tomato can. He's going to be someone that Tim can just bowl over and look good against. But I have a feeling when George Don King Rose puts his wig on, that he will be talking him up to be this potential superstar and a fighter that's avoided, and he could do this and could do that, when I think we all know it's going to be a pretty average fighter. And again, I've got no issues with it. But then what happens after that is the thing I'm also curious about, is the Australian media. Well, you know what's going to happen. Doesn't matter what type of opponent they bring over there. When Tim bowls him over in 3 or 4 rounds, the headlines will be, Tim is back. Look what the new trainer's done for him. Look at how different he looks. And I'm with Big J when I reckon this is way too soon, by the way, to actually implement a lot of those changes. We're talking about, 10 weeks or whatever it would have been by the time he gets in the ring. Not enough time. But it'll be, look at the changes and the improvements these trainers made, and here we go. Look out, Sebastian Fundora, number 3. This time he'll get it right. Bakram Murtazalia, Viora, notice you're next. This is what the Australian media has been guilty of in the past. And all I ask is, Peter Bedell, if you're watching, and who's the other one? I'm just trying to think of I can't remember. They're that important, I can't remember the names. Peter Bedell is the only one I'm going to remember. God, just tell it the way it is. You don't need to pump him up in the resurgence of the Phoenix, and he's going to be undisputed within 12 months. Just be upfront and real and say, hey, all I want you to say is, it's great to have Tim back. It's great to have him back. It was a performance that we just wanted him to have to show us he's back in the groove and that his head's in the right space. That's all we want to hear. We don't want to hear what a superstar the opponent is, because I think we all know it's not going to be a superstar. So Peter, if you're in there, put a comment in there, mate, to say that you've listened, and you'll just tell it the way it is, okay? Doing great things too, though, Peter. I really enjoyed your article the other day about the brawling. I didn't know anything about it, and by the end of it, I was a self-imposed expert on it. All right, what else have we got here? Timmy, okay. Okay, this is still about Tank Davis. I don't have a daughter, but if I did, how you can support a guy like this? Well, I don't support him. Beats me. Sorry for ranting a bit. Yeah, well, that's fine, Timmy. This is the show for having a rant. No problems at all. Pretty hard to support a guy like Tank. As I said, Timmy, I don't. I think he's not a very good human being. But again, does it mean he's not allowed to fight? Well, there's been lots of pieces of shit out there, Timmy, that have been fighters. So not much we can do about that, unfortunately. But you are right. If I had a daughter, I'd be the same, not supporting a guy like that. All right, Eminem. Sportsbet has the odds for Nikita versus Zarafa dead even, $1.96 a piece. Well, I don't really know much about betting Eminem, but yeah, the fact it's even doesn't surprise me. Remember too, though, we are what's the date today? The start of November. So what are we, about 10, 11 weeks out from the fight? So obviously those odds will change a lot. I wouldn't be surprised if Nikita ends up a slight favourite. But then again, there's a lot of people that think Michael can do the job, so maybe you never know. But for me, Nikita will end up a slight favourite. Still with Eminem, Alex Winwood now has a different opponent. Okay, is it on BoxRec? Let's have a quick look. Alex Winwood. My internet, I don't know. It must be because I'm streaming. My internet just goes to shit. All right, when it comes up, we'll have a look there. Eminem, if you know, mate, put it in the chat there because I'd like to know. Nope, still going round and round. All right, yeah, Eminem with the Phoenix nickname. Has Hamden will now be a 147-pounder fighter. Okay, well, that's good. Good to see him back, Eminem. I'm not sure. Has he got a fight locked in? I'm assuming it'll be overseas again. He's probably still got about, he got a year or a year and a half or something to go on that 3-year ban. So we'll keep an eye on him. But that's interesting news. Probably fits the mold of a 147-pounder probably a little bit better, I would probably say. I mean, Jeff has been known, especially with Brock Jarvis, to keep his fighters down at as lowest possible weight they can, and that was obviously the reason for the split with Brock Jarvis in the first place, because that's the way Jeff used to be. Jeff used to be probably a lightweight fighting in a bantamweight's body, and I think because of that, because he was really held back a lot, I think that's why he's held the fighters down in weight. And look, it has its benefits, of course, because if you rehydrate well, obviously you become the bigger guy on the night, but not everyone can rehydrate and feel strong. And I reckon that's what Brock had the problem with Jeff. He wasn't recovering properly. Whereas Jeff used to just, pump himself up like Superman after he weighed in. I reckon looking at Brock's performances, he back then, I mean, he got rocked a few times and actually, I think it was one of the shows, I think it was a Bendigo show on the Horns or Rougher undercard. He was rushed to hospital for dehydration and a few other bits and pieces. So the fact that maybe Jeff's released his shackles a little bit with Has Hamden to go to 147 is probably a good thing, I would think. Now, Alex Winwood, he's finally come up. Not yet. Okay, we'll keep going. Eminem, what's the go with the December 6th fight night broadcast? How are we watching that? Very good question, Eminem. I don't know. I commented on this the other day on Walking Boxing. If you didn't know, and I was one of them, I thought it was just on DAZN. It was just a given. It was on DAZN. This is the Jai Pattaya card I'm talking about. I just assumed it was on. It is not on DAZN. Now, I'm going to have a quick look as we're going here because as of a couple of days ago, it wasn't on there. But the Jai Pattaya fight at this stage has no broadcast part. Now, Eddie Hearn was interviewed about this the other day, and he said they're very confident they'll get someone. He didn't say DAZN. So I'm just going to check now this Friday, by the way, Bella and Vorobev is on DAZN, so don't forget that. Ortiz Lubin this weekend as well. That will be a ripper. Just going through. 16th of November is Eubank Ben 2. November 23rd is the Ring 4. So that's Benavides, Yard, Haney, Norman, Rodriguez, Martinez, and Noakes and Mason. What a card that'll be. Looking forward to that. And no, it is not on the DAZN site or the app as we speak. Now, I don't know whether it's on. Let's have a quick look. No, I won't do it. It's not coming up. Anyway, I was just going to look at the Foxtel or main event app. It's not on that either. So, don't know Eminem. I'm assuming someone will have to pick it up. I mean, how in this day and age can you have a major card that's not televised? It just doesn't make sense. I've spoken to Mick Francis about this. He's not really stressed about it at all, to be honest. Obviously, he's making money other ways than the pay-per-view, because the last one was on pay-per-view, wasn't it? It wasn't much, but I think it was still pay-per-view. So there's been rumours it could be Stan Eminem. It's a bit of a did you hear what I said? Stan Eminem, of course, one of his best songs. Yeah, I don't know. That could probably be the case. Maybe Stan or who else did they say? Or it just could be on main event. They could just put it on. But if that's the case, it would have to be worked in with No Limit, because No Limit have the exclusive rights to anything televised in this country. It has to be some sort of co-promotion, or No Limit having the hand out for a piece of the action. And I would think that there's no way Mick Francis is going to give No Limit anything. So we'll see Eminem, but at this stage, no news. No news. If anyone does have some news, put it in the chat. Love to hear it. Richard, I like your idea on the 1 minute round fights concept. Well, someone will probably have a go. Richard, if you didn't know or you don't know what Richard's talking about here, I've had an idea for quite some time. Something I was going to do when I was a boxing promoter. I haven't promoted for, nearly 6 years now. But it was and I was probably a little bit before my time because this is before everyone started with the bare knuckle and the brawling and all that sort of stuff. My idea was to have almost called turbo boxing or something along those lines, where it was sort of based on the 2020 cricket or that sort of thing, with boxing having 1 minute rounds with 30 seconds break. All right, so a whole new normal boxing, so normal rules, normal gloves, normal everything. But the only difference is that it's 1 minute rounds. So it might be a 10 1 minute round for just a normal fight, maybe 8 if it's just for, or 8 for a sort of a novice or prelim fight, whatever it might be, 10, and then maybe a 15 1 minute round fight for a title. So exactly the same rules as boxing, no changes whatsoever, except the round length from 3 minutes to 1 minute. And what that would do is, well, it will create just 1 minute of absolute action. The only hard thing about it that has got me thinking about is for the judges. 1 minute is not long to judge a round. And the rules would be, by the way, no even rounds. So no draws. So I think actually my other idea, with it was not to have 8 or 10 or 12 rounds. It was to have odd rounds. So it might be 9 1 minute rounds. So there's no draws. So there's no even rounds. So you have to score the round either way, and it's either 7, 9 rounds, whatever, 11, I don't know, and then 15 for a championship fight. So you cannot have a draw. So you got 30 seconds in between rounds, just enough to go back, have a quick drink, get a quick word, and then you're back. And obviously, being 1 minute rounds, it's just action, action, action for the whole round, and away we go. So that was my idea, Richard. So thank you for liking it. And look, in this day and age, I reckon it could go okay, especially now with what's happening with bare knuckle and the brawling and all that sort of stuff. Why couldn't something like that work? I'll call it turbo boxing for now, but that was just a concept name. So, or actually, it was going to be Xbox was another one, which you obviously couldn't be able to have, or Boxing X or something like that. So that was my idea. So yes, thank you, Richard. Would it work? Would you go watch that, guys? Would you watch normal boxing but with 1 minute rounds? Let me know. I'll get to it a little bit later on. Timmy. All right, so not me in particular, just so many boxing fans defend Tank Davis. That's from Timmy. All right, now I know women can prey on men with money and lie, says Timmy. Totally get it. But Tank's history shows the women change, but he's a common denominator. Well, I just think he's a piece of shit, Timmy. That's all. He's just a piece of shit human being. I think that's what it sort of spells, and not much you can sort of do to argue against it if you're a Tank supporter. As a person, I'm talking about, like him as a fighter. I just don't like him as a person. That's just my opinion. And what he's done there probably exemplifies it or highlights it, that not a nice person. Richard. Zombie dance, but can never forget that moment. This is Zab Judah. And it was funny. I mean, it's always been called, the chicken dance, but I'll take the zombie dance as well, where he got up and the old legs are sort of all over the place, and looks like he's having a chat to someone at ringside. A drunken talk to someone. Looks like he was drunk. That's what it looked like. He's sort of talking to whoever's at ringside, and then he fell flat in his face. I mean, what was Jay Nady supposed to do? If you get knocked down and you get up and then you fall flat on your face, there's no way he would be or could be expected to let the fight continue. So I think Zab Judah, the ego was just getting the better of him in that fight. And I think his corner didn't really protest a lot. They were just trying to hold him back. So, but it is hard to believe it was 24 years ago. There's David Jenkins in the chat. Away, David. Big J. Is that the trivia? Larry Holmes? No. Did I get it right, Tony? Let me know. This is about the hat, the red hat with war. I haven't seen anyone. So old mate guesses Larry Holmes. As I said, I think it was marvelous Marvin Hagler. I'm actually 100% positive it was Hagler. Richard, Zarafa was trending on Google search. This is about the Jay McAllister one. Geez, Jay, you're a superstar, mate. Make sure you get in here on the chat and let us know. I might actually get him on at some stage. I am going to do, I think I've said I'm going to do some, bring some people back on for the fight build-ups. So we'll see how we go. And do our little round table as far as what's happening in the boxing world. When I get a chance, I'm going to bring Jay on and people like Peter Bedell and whoever else we can find. Noonan Boy, we'll get them all on and talk about what's happening in boxing. I still want to do the show with you guys coming on to talk about it as well. I think just let me know about this, by the way, as well. I wanted probably, rather than doing the build up to a fight, everyone has their opinions and I'm sure everyone puts it on here and everyone else. I will do a panel type for that. But I want to do is a post-fight show. So after a big fight, I want to hear your thoughts. So actually come on and hear your thoughts about the fight. So the post-fight show, something along that line is what I'm looking at to bring you guys on. But again, just when the time is right. Let me know your thoughts. Yeah, Shadow Boxer, you got it right. Hagler, of course. Yep, 100%. Drew, I understand that the entire landscape of a fighter's status can change over time with age and some losses, but AJ showing interest in a fake Paul fight shows how drastically times have changed. Yeah, I must admit, Drew, I'm struggling to get my head around that Anthony Joshua would even consider this fight. But just like I thought the same about Canelo. Obviously, it's money, but someone like AJ, does he really need Jake Paul's money or a fight with Jake Paul to make money? If he fights in England, he's getting 100,000 people to Wembley Stadium. Does he really need a fight with Jake Paul for the cash? Is it a play thing? Is it just a matter of saying, well, it's the easiest money I'll ever make, so I may as well do it? I don't know. But I'm with you, Drew. I can't believe that he's actually even considered, or maybe Eddie Hearn's considered it. I don't know. Now, I would love to see him actually fight Jake Paul, by the way, and just do the old big Francis Ngannou right hand and all over, which I think is the way it would go. But yeah, I'm with you there. I'm staggered that someone like AJ would actually show interest in it at all. But then again, I always said that, why would Canelo ever consider a fight with Jake Paul? This is a couple of years ago before his career. Well, it hasn't really gone down. Just we're judging him on the Crawford fight, but let's just say before the Crawford fight, I thought there's no way he would ever consider a Jake Paul fight. But even he was apparently considering it. And he's a guy that doesn't need Jake Paul's money. So yeah, it's got me buggered too, Drew, but is this the times we're in? And as I said this morning on Walking Boxing, if Jake Paul actually steps into the ring with AJ, I will say I will respect him. Unless the fight's fixed, of course. But I don't think AJ is the type of guy you could make the under the table arrangements with. So I'll take my hat off to Jake Paul if he does in fact get in the ring with AJ, but he's been very well known for doing a lot of talking, but not actually following it up. So we will see. Richard, the Nikita Zarafa fight will do well with buys. Peter, all right, hang on. I won't read it. I'll just read it for a sec. All right, good stuff. All right, okay, here comes the Phoenix. Good stuff. Loud and thanks, Peter. Hey, we're going to get you on here one night. I want to have a chat with you about a few things. But thank you for watching, Peter. Great to have you along. All right, Ryan. My company name is Phoenix Group after my ex-wife took everything. I like it. A very good name, Ryan. Fantastic. What's that? Yes, I will. I will be. Anytime you want me on, Peter, just send me a message. I'm happy to come on. Just be nice to me. I will say though, having just a YouTube show is a hell of a lot different to having an audience of probably tens of thousands of people on national TV. So I take my hat off to you, Peter, and all the people that like you that put a microphone in front of the face on TV. All right, what do we got? Timmy, Ryan is getting a title shot versus Barrios off of just getting outclassed by Rowley is absolutely disgraceful. Popularity is great and all, but you should have to win to get opportunities. Timmy, you make the perfect sense in the world, mate. The problem is boxing doesn't work that way. Doesn't have anything to do with your standing in the sport and if you deserve it or not, mate. You should know that by now if you're a boxing fan. It just depends on what makes the most coin, mate. And Barrios is probably, he's had the Pacquiao fight. Now he's looking at, all right, who's the next biggest around? It's Ryan Garcia. And Mario Barrios, he seems to be the man in demand, doesn't he? Pacquiao now, Ryan. I did say the other day too on Walking Box, I think Barrios is actually a shot. If Ryan Garcia turns up against Barrios like he did against Rowley, it'll be the same result. Barrios can be okay. Very average world champion, I'll admit, but can box okay. And if Ryan is as lackluster and uninspired as he was in the Ramiro fight, I would give Barrios a chance of winning that fight. But Should he have gotten it, or should he have the chance? Absolutely not, Timmy. You're 100% right, mate. It is disgraceful. But again, this is not tennis or football or cricket, whatever, where the teams all play and the best fight, the best play the best for the whoever to win the championship or whatever the hell it is. This is boxing, and unfortunately, it doesn't make sense. This is probably one area where maybe the Dana White entrance into boxing could work somewhat, in that it is done on rankings and points and all these different things like he does in the UFC. Maybe that's one good thing that he'll bring to it, because at the moment, like it's always been, it's a wild, wild west. And unfortunately, when you have so many world titles on the line or available, if you can't get love from one, you just go to the other, and then you might fall out with them and you go back to another one. This is the beauty of having 4 world titles. So this is boxing, mate. I know you know the way it works, but don't be surprised, because that's just the way you roll in boxing, unfortunately. And you're right there. Ryan's never even been a champ. No, and he's probably could have been the absolute face of boxing, Timmy, without even having a world title. Crazy. Ado, good comment here, mate. Banging card this Friday night. Finally, an Aussie card with even matchups throughout. Yes, you are 100% right. Actually, just before we move on, Alex Winwood. We'll get back to that. Oh, okay. I don't know whether this is the opponent or the replacement. The guy I've got here is Watiha Montri. Now, I don't know whether this guy was the original guy, but this guy is having his debut against Alex Winwood. So I've got a feeling he might be a kickboxer or something like that, I would think. But his name is Watiha Montri. Although it says he's Australian. Okay, with a name like that, I would have thought he was Thai or something like that. But it says he's fighting Alex Winwood on the 29th of this month. So don't know again if that's the replacement guy or the original guy, but making his debut. Anyway, sorry, I was going to type in this weekend's card, wasn't I? And Camille Bella and what's his name? Vorobev, whatever his name is. All right, Sergey Vorobev. So that will be the main event. That is over 8 rounds. Must have been the main event. Must have been, because it's 8 rounds. We've got Maya Solomon, Josie Parr. That'll be a ripper. That is 10-2s. We've got Monier. I would say, would this be the main event? Monier Fathi, Andrew Hunt, over 10 rounds for the Australasian Super Welterweight title, the IBF. That's the best fight on the card. That is Monier Fathi and Andrew Hunt, for the males anyway. And then we've got another 10-rounder with the girls, Stephanie Cutting and Maria Turner. So really good card there. Camille Bella, Vorobov, as I said. Lilo Talape, really like the way he rolls. He's up against Chayawat Putaruska, I think his name is. So a really good card. So if you're in Melbourne, go to, it's called The Takeoff at the Melbourne, no it's not, I'm going to say the Melbourne Pavilions, at the Hyatt Place Event Centre in Essendon Fields in Melbourne. But it will also be on DAZN, so make sure you check your local guides with daylight savings. It's sort of throwing everything out all over the country, but this Friday night on DAZN, so check it out. All right, Drew, I can understand Tim changing his ring name. You can't exactly be the soul taker when your soul has been, I shouldn't laugh, when your soul has been taken in 3 of your last 4 fights and twice by the same guy, still there for Team Zoo. Sorry, I shouldn't have laughed at that, but you're right. Yeah, it's I've just never liked it anyway. Drew, the Soul Taker. It's just talk about corny names. That is very, very corny. And again, I don't think he chose the name. I think the Australian media sort of bestowed it upon him. But yeah, look, if I had to pick between the two, I'm definitely taking Phoenix. But it's gonna have to grow on me, I think. All right, Shadow Boxer. We all know styles make fights. And it's because of that I feel Nikita's style is all wrong for Zarafa. Surprised at the bookies. So you're the opposite to me. So you think Nikita's style... Oh, sorry. I feel Nikita's style is all wrong for Zarafa. Yes, that's why I look at it too, Shadowboxer. Sorry, I thought you were saying that Zarafa was all wrong for Nikita. But no, I'm with you there, mate. I think that style-wise, I can just see Nikita being a bit of the predator in this fight, really taking center ring, really picking his shots, really looking to make Michael pay on the counter, because Michael's a good fighter. And I know I've been critical in certain ways of Michael in the past, but I've also been complimentary in others as well. Unfortunately, he's only seen the negative ones. He hasn't seen the positive times I've actually talked him up. But I'm just looking at, you'll have a good look at Michael when he fights. Now, he's very susceptible to counters. Okay, comes in, throws good punches, but tends to come up with the chin up in the air just a little bit sometimes and steps straight back out in a straight line. He doesn't go off to the sides, and he's open for counter left hands or right hands, whatever it might be. And I just think Nikita, if he times, this is what I would be saying if I was in his corner, for when Michael to come in and counter him with that straight left hand on as he pulls out, maybe a right hook after that as well. And I think Michael's open for it. Now, of course, Nikita is open to punches as well. I'm not saying that Michael can't hit him or land on him as well. And if I was probably in Michael's corner, I would probably say a left hook counter would work all the time against Nikita. That's what I'd be looking for. I don't think it's going to be the right hand. I think it's going to be a left hook that could do the damage to Nikita if he's going to land on him. But I just think that if I was in Nikita's corner, I'd be telling him to be nice and tight. Do not waste punches. Do not get caught up in a slugfest. Pick your punches. Throw your 20 or 30 punches around. That's all it's going to take. But make the punches count. I think that's going to be the key to beating Michael Zarafa. Don't go out there and think you've got to throw 90 to 100 punches per round. That's just going to get you caught. That's going to get you nailed by Michael because he's a very experienced guy. We've seen it if he can land on these guys, and when he does, he gets you out of there. So that's what I'll be saying to Nikita. Let's keep it to 20 to 25, maybe 30 punches around, but just make every single punch count. And as the rounds go on, sort of pick it up a little bit and try and pinpoint Michael and just break him down. And if I was, as I said, with Michael, I'd be actually looking to get Nikita engaged in a firefight, and then he should be able, or hopefully land a shot, because Nikita does open himself up a lot when he engages, when it's just a free-for-all back and forth. So I think for Nikita to win, he's got to be very, very conservative, very, very tight, very choosy with the punches he throws. And for Michael, it's actually trying to get Nikita into that dogfight, which I think he has his best chance of winning. So we'll see. But anyway, I'm sure everyone's got an opinion. All right. Ado, Parker and Bawatsi was a hard watch. Domestic English level was being generous. Bawatsi, not that guy. It was an entertaining fight, Ado, but it wasn't, I'm with you, it wasn't the most tactical, brilliant fight. Yeah, look, I thought Bawatsi, it was close. Close-ish enough to go either way. I don't think if Parker had a won, anyone would have argued, just like with Bawatsi. I know there's a lot of people, including Parker, not happy about it. Of course, he's not going to be happy, is he? But I thought it was close-ish enough that not to argue about the result. If I had to pick a winner, yeah, okay, maybe I might have leaned towards Parker, but I'm certainly going to argue with Bawatsi. It was close enough in my opinion anyway. But yeah, it didn't set records as far as skill and technique goes, Ado, did it? All right. Timmy T, out of the boxes, McCullum, Hatton, Foreman, and Carwy passing away this year. What one hit your emotions the most? Yeah, good call, Timmy. And throwing Greg Haugen in there too. I think he passed away this year as well. I'm probably going to say Ricky Hatton, Timmy. Mike McCullum was unexpected. He had a heart attack, so it's just unfortunately one of those things that can happen. George Foreman, was he in his 70s? I think he was. So maybe even his 80s, I can't remember, but he was quite old, had some health problems in the past. Carwy, probably the same. They're all, Foreman and Carwy were, I think Carwy might have been in his 60s, Foreman in his 70s. McCullum was in his 50s, maybe 60s with health problems. But with Ricky Hatton, for him to go the way he did, 46 years of age, Timmy. And the thing is, probably like a lot of you out there, some of my most cherished or memorable moments for, in the recent years has been based around Ricky Hatton. I know there's been a lot of fighters out there, but the Costa Zoo fight, I know we couldn't forgive him for beating Costa Zoo, but I think deep down we all had this utmost respect for Ricky Hatton, the way he went about. I don't think anyone would have begrudged Ricky Hatton winning that fight, even though we're all devastated as Costa fans. I think we all fully gave Ricky his dues. The fights with Mayweather and Pacquiao, and just for me, the energy and life and just presence that he brought to the sport, Timmy, I just thought this guy is just one of those fighters that comes along once in a generation. Now, he wasn't the best fighter. He wasn't the most memorable fighter. Well, I'll take that back. I think he was memorable, but he wasn't the best fighter, wasn't the greatest fighter or anything like that. But what he brought to the sport, and especially to England, I can just imagine what his fans over there would have been thinking. Just a true character of the sport, who fought his heart out every time. He fought the best of his generation, and just seemed like a beautiful man. He really did. I never met Ricky, but everyone that I know that has met him, he's been to Australia before, and maybe even met him overseas as well, all said the same thing. What you saw on TV was the same as you saw in person. And it did hit me hard, Timmy. I was actually in Las Vegas for the Tim fight with the Crawford and Canelo fight, and I woke up in the morning and the news had hit. I know it was probably a few hours old back in Australia with the time difference and everything, but I woke up and it really hit me hard, Timmy. I'll be honest. I was like, "Are you kidding me?" Because this is only a few days as well after what happened to Charlie Kirk as well. I'm not going to get all political and all that sort of stuff, but I think that hit a lot of people hard in a different way. But with Ricky Hatton, it was like, this can't be true. Ricky Hatton, I mean, this is a guy who just was larger than life and so young with so much to live for. And just like that, he's gone. So, yeah, Timmy, definitely Ricky Hatton for me, mate, because he was a true ornament to the sport, mate. So, as they all were in their own ways. But Ricky Hatton's just so full of life. And sometimes you don't sort of realise what a lot of these people go through behind closed doors. And it's normally the ones like Ricky Hatton who are the life of the party and are always trying to cheer people up and smile and laugh and put on a face for them, are the ones that are suffering in silence. And we've seen it with people like Robin Williams, the actor, as well, was apparently like that as well. So anyway, yeah, but a tough year for boxing, mate, that's for sure. All right. Big J, interesting that the chump stands up to Zarafa, but he's still ducking a 43-year-old broken down soldier. Bloody chump. Jay, where are you, mate? Come on here and defend your honour, mate. I will defend it for you, mate. If I had to back one, just judging by the way he fronted up to Zarafa, Big J, I reckon I'll be putting my money on the Big Mac. I reckon the Big Mac to, I reckon, do the old 1-2 Timmy Zoo and good night, Big J. That's what I'm picking anyway. I'm sure you'll have a retaliation for that, mate. But that's my breakdown anyway. All right, what do we got here? Chandler Binge, how are you there, mate? Could you please explain how to score a round? Oh, geez, here we go. For example, one fighter dominates the first 2 minutes and the other fighter comes back to dominate the final minute. Oh, you had to come with common sense, didn't you, Chandler? You couldn't just ask a simple question. You actually had to ask a common sense question, which in boxing is just impossible. Look, the way it's supposed to happen, Chandler, the way it's supposed to be judged for a round is by ring generalship. So who controls the fight, who has the better technique, of course, who lands punches, but then does it come down to the amount of punches they land or the quality of the punches? So is it quality you're after or quantity is the other thing? You could land 10 jabs and the other guy lands one big right hand that rocks the head back. How do you score it? This is what comes down to the judges, mate. But what's supposed to happen is who lands the more meaningful punches. Of course, the quantity of punches, as I said, the ring generalship, who controls the action the most, all these different things, Chandler. There's so many different things that come in it, but obviously all these judges score it a different way. How many times have we seen a fight where one fighter will win 9 rounds to 3, on the other card, the other fighter wins 9 rounds to 3? So, mate, I don't know. And you're right. With your comment there, who wins the first 2 minutes and the other fighter comes back to dominate the final minute? Good question. I don't think the timing matters too much, though, Chan. I think it still comes down to, in that instance you've got there, or that example, it would be, well, I think the judges would still be looking, all right, you might have dominated the first 2 minutes, but the other guys actually come back and had a really good last minute and actually outscored. That 1 minute of dominance has outscored the other guy's 2 minutes of dominance. So my biggest question's always been, and I've tried to have this explained to me numerous times, what happens if one fighter absolutely dominates a round, like you said there, and in the last 5 seconds gets a flash knockdown? Mightn't even be a big knockdown. It might be a jab or something, but he goes to his knee, gets the 8 count. That is technically a 10-8 round for the fighter that knocked him down, but the guy that has been knocked down has dominated 2 minutes and 55 seconds of the round. Again, it comes into the judge's point of view, I suppose, and their interpretation. So lots of things at play, Chandler. I'm sorry I cannot explain it definitively because it comes down to the interpretation of the judges. As simple as that. You get one judge that likes someone being aggressive. Some guys like the boxer on the toes and showing the that really good ring generalship. Others like the quantity of punches. Others like the quantity, and the other one likes the quality. So though that one big right hand will outweigh 10 jabs. So good example you've got there, Chandler, but I cannot answer it. I'm sorry. Your guess is as good as mine. Sometimes, I'll be honest as well, and I won't mention names, but I've spoken to judges. Sometimes, if in doubt, it comes down to gut feel. Yes, gut feel. It's like, oh, geez, it's even. I don't really want to score the fight or the round even. I know a lot of fighters, judges will do that, by the way. If in doubt, I'll just score it even. But there are a lot of judges, I know they get encouraged not to score a round even because it can cause all sorts of dramas. But if in doubt, they'll go, oh, geez, all right, I'll just give it to him. My gut feeling says he did enough. Others will give it to the champion if it's close, which is a lot of people make the argument that's the way it should be. If a round's even, close enough to be called an even round, so rather than give it an even round, give it to the champion. Others will be encouraged, well, if it's even, give it to the aggressor. So many things there, mate. We could go on and on and on about this, but we'll be going round and round in circles, mate. So if anyone's got a better explanation for Chandler than what I just said then, hey, go for it. All right. Ado, who do you favour in Solomon Parr? Should be a banger. I'm going to go for Maya Solomon, Ado. I think Jazzy Parr's a good little fighter. I think Maya Solomon is just a tad better. Look, great fight anyway. And these are the fights that No Limit should be making. Why is Jazzy Parr fighting Maya Solomon, with all due respect to Sam Labruna, who does some great shows and has been around a long time and puts a lot back in the boxing, whether in the gym or promotions or whatever, does a lot for boxing, especially in Victoria. Why is this fight on that card? This is the fight that I would think that No Limit, being Australia's biggest promoter, would be looking at these type of matchups and saying, we want these two girls on our card. And what is Jazzy Parr? Isn't she signed to No Limit? What is she doing fighting Maya Solomon? They should be saying, yeah, we'll approve the fight, but it's going to be on our card. Not a it's not non-televised, it's on DAZN. Not on a small little club show in Melbourne. This is going to be on one of our big shows. Great fight, and I think it's a credit to Sam Labruna for getting the fight on his card, but it doesn't make sense to me that these two are actually fighting on this card. Probably a little bit the same as Steffi Cutting and Mariah Turner, which is going to be a really good fight as well. And Fathy versus Hunt. Great fight. Kamil Bella, Sergey Vorobov. Yeah, well, I just think Kamil Bella's probably done and dusted in his career by now, and Vorobov is probably arguably the same. Should be a really good fight, though. But there's other fights are all up-and-comers. So, yeah, who do I favour? I'm going to go with Solomon, Ado. Dan, how are you, Dan? Any news on what's going on with DAZN and them not fulfilling their promises of free pay-per-views with the Riyadh cards, plus what's happened with Foxtel's boxing coverage? Good question, Dan. All right, so first of all, with the DAZN pay-per-views, if you didn't know, and I'm sure you do if you follow boxing, that Turki Al Sheikh said a few months back, I think it was June, July, whatever it was, that the pay-per-views on DAZN would be no more. It will be all free. I think the first card that would be free would be the November 22nd David Benavides Anthony Yard card. Well, guess what? That is now, $60, I think, American. I think that's what it is. It might vary in different countries, but it is a pay-per-view. And a pretty weak pay-per-view, if you ask me. So, I don't know, mate. That your guess is as good as mine. There's been no comments, as far as I've seen, from Turki Al Sheikh about this. All over social media and the sites and all that sort of stuff from fans complaining about it. But the icing on the cake, of course, was the Derek Chisora and Dillian White fight looking like it'll be pay-per-view. Now, I might be wrong. Tell me, are you guys and girls going to pay to watch Derek Chisora and Dillian White go at it for a third time? Then pay 30, 40, 50 bucks, because I certainly aren't. I'd rather take that money and give it to charity. That's what I would prefer to do with it than pay for that card. But I don't know, Dan. As I said, nothing from Turki Al Sheikh yet. No statement from DAZN either. Nothing. It's just, we'll just sort of sneak that in there. And while we're at it, we'll sneak in the Chisora and White one as well. Just crazy. And what's the other one? What's happened with Foxtel's boxing coverage? Good question as well, Dan. Where's all these No Limit on Foxes gone? When's the last one they had? Where is it? I'll go back to. I'm not sure that'll. I'm sure. Does it bring it up? I'm sure it does. I'll go back to. Where are we? People. I'm just going to type in. Sorry, guys. I'll just do it as we're going. The box rec. I want to see with the promoters. As far as where are we? Just trying to see there because you can. Hang on. I'll type in George Rose and see what comes up. I want to see the last time we had a No Limit on Fox. Where is he? Fighters, promoters. Where are you? All right. See if it comes up. George Rose. All right. There he is, promoter. So the No Limit shows should come up. All right. So we had. Let me just have a look here. Oh, I might have to. I think it was it maybe Liam Wilson was one of those fights. But anyway, I'll scrap that. I'm going around again in circles here. But boxing coverage, I reckon there's only been, 3, if maybe 4 of those No Limit on Foxes this year, Dan. So I don't know. It seems like it's just like they've forgotten about it. And they've only done, well, I was going to say only, they've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. But I think a couple of those were co-promotions, I reckon. So I've still done a few shows this year, but that No Limit on Foxing has vanished. So I don't know, mate. I don't know. I reckon they've done about 3 or 4 this year, but nowhere near what they promised. Maybe we need an explanation from George Rose as well. Drew, I'm thinking Tank Davis might be done with his career. The constant personal dramas, foe to take an essential rematch, and the cancellation of the fake fight gives me no confidence going forward. I wouldn't be surprised either, Drew. I think if he does get charged, it looks like he's going to. He'll probably do jail time this time, I would think, and that would probably be the end of his career. What is he, 30? Has made no secret that he's sick of boxing, and with this fight with Jake Paul maybe falling over, then what's it, $40 million he's going to miss out on? Jeez. Talk about fighters just flushing their careers down the toilet. I mean, him and Adrian Broner should start their own podcast, I reckon, in about 5 years' time. I reckon they'll have some stories to tell. Eminem, Australia's youngest pro boxer, Benji Birchall, now 5-0, 5 KOs. I did see he fought again, Eminem. I think, when was that? Just recently, wasn't it? Hang on, I'll type in his name. Yeah, it's good that Dave Birchall, his dad, doing great things with him, just getting him involved in the pros in a nice, easy way, dipping the toe in the water, not obviously fighting anyone of note, but that's fine. So please don't get on here and say, oh, look at he's fighting taxi drivers and Uber drivers and that sort of stuff. There's a method behind the madness is what I'll say. Yes, he'll probably get to 10 or 15-0 with 15 knockouts, but it's about learning to become a pro. 15 years of age, I think he is. Where is he? So it's only 4-0 there, Eminem, unless I haven't updated it. No, he fought on the weekend. It says he's 4-0, Eminem. But he's also 15 years of age, I think. 16 years of age. So he's had one fight last year and 3 fights this year. So look, all fighters having their debut, but as I said, it's not about, fighting world ranked fighters. It's just about getting experience. So he got 2 years before he's 18. So he could have another 10 fights or even 8 fights. So by the time he actually turns pro for real in Australia, he could have 12 or 13 fights up his sleeve. So fantastic idea from his dad, Dave, just to get him over there in Thailand and have a few fights, just practice a few things, grow into his body, get a bit of a feel for how the pros work. So when he actually does turn pro properly here in Australia, as I said, he might have 12 or 13 wins under his belt, and away he goes. So from all accounts, he's a pretty good talent too, Eminem. So we will see. Excuse me there. All right. Tony. Why are comedians being crucified online for participating in the comedy festival in Riyadh, but when there's a boxing event, crickets? Good question, Tony. Well, this is something I've wondered aloud as well. Everyone with the money that Turkey Al Sheikh and the Saudi Arabia government are throwing around, all the and I'm not going to get political here, by the way, guys, I promise, but all the, let's just say, stuff that's gone on involving the Saudis over the years, the last probably 25 years especially, all of a sudden, none of that matters when there's a bit of coin being thrown around. That's probably another reason I've never taken to the Riyadh season, Tony. Especially a lot of people have got short memories about what has happened, as I said, especially in the last 25 years. So I'm with you there, mate. Cricket's for sure. I think they're also involved in pool and all that, aren't they, Tony? Pool, snooker, whatever it is as well. Golf as well. Crickets as well. As I said, nothing... Well, morals seem to go out the window when everyone's getting paid, isn't it? So anyway, it's... Hopper Hardy had an interesting nickname. Mark Wynn, how are you, Mark? The sooner Tank is out of boxing, the better. Absolute dickhead of a person. Don't hold back there, Mark, but I agree with you, mate. Not a nice person at all, I don't think. Thanks, Drew. James Scott fought from prison. That's the one. I thought it was Marvin Johnson. You're right, James Scott. If you haven't seen it, go to YouTube and check it out. They actually have a televised fight from prison featuring James Scott. I think it was a light heavyweight, wasn't he, Drew? But yeah, there's a full-on documentary and all that about it, him fighting from prison in a televised event, if you can believe that. I remember going to a fight day in prison, Drew. I was only a kid. It was at I'm not sure if I told this story before, but it was at the Castlemaine jail here in Victoria, up in country Victoria, Castlemaine, if you're a little bit more educated than what I am, Castlemaine. But it was, there's a guy in jail named Machine Gun Charlie. If you're from Victoria, you probably know what I'm talking about. A kickboxer, obviously a colourful background. Used to spar with him all the time as what it would have been 14 or 15, I reckon. We used to go up to the Castlemaine jail, me and probably 3 or 4 of my gym mates. Trainer would take us up there, and that's where we sparred. And we'd walk in, there was all the prisoners there, and the guards would say, yeah, stick it up, these pricks. That's what they'd say. And we'd go to the Castlemaine jail, and we spar as kids. I think it was me and my brother and probably 2 or 3 others. I reckon I would have been no older than 15 years of age, going into Castlemaine adult prison and sparring with the inmates. And because they had the inmates watching, they obviously all wanted to show what they had. I mean, they've got the prison cred or street cred, whatever you might want to call it, to live up to outside. When we all go, they've got to go back to the cells and have all the prisoners in there, and you've got to maintain the reputation and cred. So they were like fights. I had grown men coming at me just as a 15-year-old, just going crazy. And that was how we learnt the hard way. And one of the guys who used to spar was Machine Gun Charlie. And one day they actually had a kickboxing event in the Castlemaine jail. We all did exhibitions beforehand, and he fought in the main event against some guy from Melbourne. I don't know who he was, but he could fight because he did a big spinning back fist and knocked Machine Gun Charlie clean out. So I did feel a bit sorry for Machine Gun Charlie because the cred would have been out the window after that. But I just, in hindsight, it was just surreal going into jail and sparring these men, hardened men, by the way. So, but it was a bit of fun. You could just go all out on them, and a lot of them weren't overly skilled, but they had obviously they had a lot to fight for, and we'd go in there and and punch on with the crims. All right, I've probably fallen behind there with a story that probably no one cared about, but Andy, Tim needs tune-ups to get used to working under his new coach, in my opinion. Yeah, that's cool, Andy. That's fine. I would say at least 2 fights. I would think that I would want to see Tim before he even attempts to step up. And again, I'll say I have no problem whatsoever with him for fighting a couple of tomato cans. No problem at all. Okay, as I said before, just don't try and build him up into being these superstars, because we know they're not going to be superstars. And that's fine. But just, well, they say, don't piss down the back of my leg and tell me it's raining. Just be up front. Hey, he's a tune-up. I think people will understand. But I know they've got to sell seats. I know they've got to sell pay-per-views, all that sort of stuff. But just, let's be real. Peter, if you're still out there, I'm talking to you, mate. So just when you write some articles, just tell it the way it is. Yep. Thanks, Ice-T. Thanks, mate. Yep, James Scott was his name. All right, Dan, how long before Jai abandons his goal of unifying the cruiserweight division and going up to heavyweight, because it would be such a shame for him to waste his prime years chasing fights that ain't happening? Yeah, look, Dan, I've been vocal about this as well. Look, he is 30 years of age, so I would think so. He's got Shinkara next. The word is if it goes according to plan, this is if it does, of course, things can obviously go awry, but is to fight Badu Jack next. The problem with that is that Badu Jack is fighting, I think, at the end of December, or maybe it's January, I think it is, in the rematch with Michaelian, I think it is. Now, he only has a habit of fighting once every time Haley's Comet comes around, so who knows when he'll be back. But the aim is to have Jai and maybe Badu Jack fight mid-year for the 2 belts, and then the winner of that to fight Ramirez at the end of 2026 for all the belts. And by that time, Ramirez would have had at least one fight, so he should be right to go for the unification fight. The problem is he's already tried to price himself out of it. I would think if Badu Jack got lucky and beat Jai, I've got no doubt Ramirez would want to fight Badu Jack. I've just got a feeling they just don't want to fight Jai. Or maybe they're not close to fighting him in general, but the timing has got to be right for them. I think they're going to try and milk maybe a Benavides or a Bivol or Better Beef coming up, or a Jake Paul or one of those types of guys coming up so he can get his payday and then doing what he wants to do after that. But I think they're trying to delay the Jai thing as long as they possibly can. So I would think the end of 2026, Dan, if I was in Jai's management team, I would be saying, all right, let's do what Turki Al Sheikh's trying to do. Let's try and get this fight with Badu Jack mid-year, and then let's try and get Zurdo Ramirez at the end of the year. And if that's the case, if all goes according to plan, then it will all play out in the best way. But if it's end of 2026 and Zurdo Ramirez is still playing games, I just go up. I know he wants to unify the cruiserweight division, and I get it, but just move up. Forget about it. Way more lucrative fights at heavyweight for him. The other thing he could do, of course, is if he wants a really big fight before he moves up and Zurdo Ramirez is not playing games and maybe Badu Jack is not interested either, is to try and coax someone like David Benavides up to cruiserweight. We all know David Benavides has always been a weight bully. He's always put it on Canelo and everything else. I would like Jai Patai to say, all right, come and fight someone your own size. Come up to cruiserweight. I'll handle you. That to me is one of the biggest fights in boxing, is Jai Patai and David Benavides. And I'm backing Jai Patai to win that fight, by the way. But that might be something he does before going to heavyweight. But I would give him to the end of 2026. So try and fight Badu Jack or mid-year, whatever it's going to be. And if the Ramirez thing's up in the air, try and get Benavides up from cruiserweight and then go to heavyweight after that. Who's going to win the Melbourne Cup? I have no idea who's in it, Chandler. No idea. I don't follow horse racing, so if anyone's got a tip, feel free to put it in the chat. Mark, Zarafa will have to beat Nikita very convincingly, otherwise No Limit will rob him. Yeah, I get what you're saying there, Mark. It's not so much No Limit. It's just the boxing fraternity. And not literally. I'm talking about the judges with the perception and everything that Nikita Zoo is the A side. So I would think if it's really close, it's going to go to Nikita Zoo. It'll have nothing to do with No Limit though, Mark. Contrary to what people think, the promoters have supposedly no bearing on what the judges are going to do. They don't appoint the judges. The Combat Board appoints the judges. So it's not going to be No Limit, but it might be the judges that, like I said before, when they're scoring a fight, if it's close, they'll be giving it to Nikita. That's what I think will happen. But I'm with you. He will have to beat him convincingly if it's on points, or if not, I would think it's going to go Nikita's way. All right. Tim will disown Nikita if he loses. Yeah, be a little bit frosty, you'd think, Richard, going to the family dinner, wouldn't it? If he loses to Zarafa. Drew, I have a daughter, and when the time comes for her to date someone, I have 2 conditions. She can't date someone called Tank or any guy with the surname Davis. Yeah, good call, Drew. What do you got there? I've really tried. This is from Tony. I've really tried to look online to see who the Beast Stromenu fights next, but I can't seem to find who it is. Would you know his next opponent? No, I don't, Tony. I don't think it's been put on line yet, I wouldn't have thought. When is it? It's December, is it? I think it is. So the Beast. So there's nothing on BoxRec, I don't think, to be announced. So December 13th, Melbourne Pavilion. I don't reckon they've probably got an opponent for him yet, Tony. I think they've just put him on the card, I would think. Who else is on that card, by the way? It is Joe Demicoli. Good man, Joe. Does very, very good things. I'm just trying to see who else is on the card. No one that I recognise, actually. No, I don't know any of those guys except for John Manu. Yeah, I would have thought he hasn't got an opponent yet, Tony. What are we, about 6 weeks away? Yeah, I think they'll get him someone, but I think they've just added him to the card and they haven't found someone for him yet. Surely Tim will fight Zarafa if Nikita loses to him, says Eminem. I don't think so, Eminem. My money is no matter what happens with Zarafa, if he does beat Nikita, I don't think it will still be enough to get Tim to fight him. I think Tim will say, it's bad luck, little brother. No good, but I'm off doing my own thing overseas. So I don't think under any circumstances will Tim fight Zarafa if he beats Nikita in January. Look, strangely enough, I could maybe see the fight happening, what are we, about to go into 2026? In like late 2027, even 2028. I mean, that's when I can see it sort of happening, if it will at all. I just think it'll be that last sort of Green Mundine 2 situation where both guys have pretty much gone as far as they can internationally. And it's like, oh, well, let's fight each other for a payday. And even if whoever loses the fight, I mean, whoever wins the fight will have sort of bragging rights, I suppose. But it'll be probably a Green Mundine situation where they might go, oh, well, Green got the win, but Mundine, when they were in their prime, absolutely schooled Danny Green. Where in this instance, if Zarafa happened to beat Tim in 2 or 3 years' time, well, Tim was nowhere near his best. 5 years ago, he would have killed him. So it's a no-win situation for Michael, unfortunately. And if Tim wins, well, see, we told you so all those years ago. So anyway, but that's strange enough. The only way I see it happening, Eminem, is when both of those guys have wrung out as much as they can out of their international careers, and it might just be a retirement fight for both of them, like Mundine and Green was. All right, Drew. If Nikita loses, Costa will disown both of them. Tim has no room for judgment right now. That said, I wish him well. Yeah, I don't think so. I think a father's love is still a father's love, Drew. I think he would, but maybe they just wouldn't discuss boxing too much. I don't think Costa's had too much to do with either of the boys for quite some time anyway. So, Andy, turbo boxing would go off like a frog in a cycling. And oh, geez, don't say that, Andy. I've promised my wife I'll never promote again, and I'll stick to that promise. That's why I have no dramas talking about it. But good to know, Turbo. Sorry, not Turbo. Andrew or Andy, that turbo boxing would go off. Yeah, 1 minute rounds. Let's go. I like it. Richard, fair points and agreed with Kostya. Would also like to know how we really get on with both of them. Yeah, well, we'll see. All right, this is what I want. Both sides of the coin. Respectfully, 1 minute round sucks. This is boxing, not caveman, rock'em, sock'em boxing. Okay, that's cool, Fredo. This is what I want to hear, mate. This is what I want to hear. Because end of the day, I'll be after people to watch it. And maybe this is why maybe women's boxing, well, I was going to say doesn't get the attention that it needs, because a lot of people just see it as rock'em sock'em boxing. But on the other hand, people probably don't want to see. I said this in my walking boxing episode yesterday or the day before about maybe people don't want them to fight the 12 3-minute rounds because they don't want it. They just haven't got the patience to watch women try and box clinically for 12 rounds. So that's good, Fredo. All good, mate. 1 minute round sucks. That's cool. Okay. So this looks like Peter. I'm listening loud and clear. I'm lobbying for you to join me on the next main event broadcast. Keep up the good work. Geez, don't put the pressure on me like that, Pete. Lobbying for me to be on the next main event broadcast. Geez, just now really got the heart rate up there, mate. It'd be good though, Peter. Maybe one day. What about the first fighter to 200 significant punches? Don't mind it either, Ryan. Don't mind it. I think there's going to be all these little twists and turns as we go with all these, or with the success of bare knuckle, and now the the brawling thing. I think there's going to be a lot of people saying, "Oh, geez, how can we cash in on some different type of concept?" Actually, yeah, Tony, I did see that. I forgot about that. Word is Ngannou is stepping in for Tank Davis to fight Jake Paul. Yeah, I did see that. Where did I see that today? I forgot all about that, Tony, that there was talk about Ngannou stepping in. Surely not, would it? Surely he wouldn't step in, would he, Ngannou? Again, if Jake Paul takes that fight, I think I've got to take my hat off to him for sure. All right, what do you got? You kid me. G'day, mate. It was you, was it? Yep, I'm the one who commented to add hashtags and change the titles. How are the videos performing? Well, I haven't really had any more subscribers there. You kidding me? You kidding me? But I understand where you're coming from with everything. I've tried. Where are we? Hasn't really affected the views. Hang on, where are we? It may be a few extra views there. Yeah, it may be a few extra views. What it has done though, no extra subscribers just yet. But if you haven't seen there too, mate, I've actually started to do the shorts as well. I've been told by someone, keep the shorts coming. They've actually had some good views. Yesterday's got 850. There's another one for 600, another one for nearly 1,000. So yeah, so I'm going to do them as well, mate. I just struggle for time sometimes, mate. That's why sometimes you'll see the Spotify episode of walking boxing doesn't maybe go up in the afternoon because I've got to head off really early. I haven't got time to upload it, so I am going to do my best to do what you did there, mate, and hopefully the algorithm or whether it does starts to take effect. So I'll keep you updated, mate. Ask me next week so I don't forget. All right, I didn't do it. All right, Jake will end up fighting a UFC fighter. He's just using AJ and Francis's name for clout, and it's working. Very good point again. I didn't do it. He does talk up a lot, but does end up fighting the same old fighters, doesn't he? Or type of fighters, doesn't he? UFC fighters or washed-up boxers. Actually, I think he's only fought Chavez, hasn't he? He's a washed-up boxer. All the others have been UFC fighters. So, yeah, I think he does. I think he did it with Canelo too, Jake. Sorry, I didn't do it. Jake did. He used Canelo's name to get a bit of clout out there, and it worked. Excuse me, because everyone was talking about it, weren't they? Julian, the legendary Costazoo was initially under enormous pressure in the first 4 minutes. He was, mate. He really was. And I said this morning in the walking boxing that after the first round, I was like, geez, this is going to be a tough one for Kostya. But it already showed as well, though, against other boxers he'd faced in the past that eventually he'd get hold of them. I know Zab Judah was at that stage probably the best fighter he'd fought, but I was sort of thinking that maybe as the rounds went on, I mean, we never got to the middle rounds, obviously. It ended in the second, but I was still, I won't say confident, but I was hopeful and optimistic that Costa may eventually get to him. The problem was, for me, was it going to be after 8 rounds where he hadn't won a round? Was it going to be too late? But of course, he didn't need 8 or 9 rounds because he got him out of there in 2. So a lot of what ifs out there, Julian. But that right hand, perfectly timed, straight down the middle. It was fantastic. G'day, Bacon and Eggs. How you going, mate? Andy, Ryan Garcia doesn't deserve a title shot, but Barrios deserves a good payday, in my opinion. Not the biggest fan of popular fighters getting a chance to cut the line, but it happens too often. It does, mate. And as I said before, since when does common sense sort of come into it when boxing is involved and who should get a shot and when? I mean, Joe Parker should have got a shot probably before Dubois. Well, maybe that's probably going a bit too far, but should have got his shot. And to his own detriment, by the way, he chose to fight Wardley. But yeah, I think he should have got a shot a little bit earlier. But it didn't matter. Didn't matter whether he deserved it or not. The bigger fight at the time was Dubois. So Drew says, I would love to see Benavides versus Bivol. Bivol and Beterbiev 3 can wait. The world might not need this fight, but I do. Benavides deserves that shot versus the belt holder in Bivol. I agree, Drew. 100%. I would love to see Benavides and Bivol. Beterbiev and Benavides would be an interesting fight too, I would think. That would, because Beterbiev doesn't really know any other way than straight ahead. He's that typical sort of is he Chechen, Russian, whatever it is, just that straight ahead, very basic type of style, but almost just clubs you to death, doesn't he? Beterbiev, fighters like him. And Benavides likes to stand and brawl and overpower fighters. So that would be interesting. But Benavides and Bivol, I think, is the fight at light heavyweight. Drew, I'm with you. I'm not that stressed about Bivol and Beterbiev 3. I wouldn't be stressed if they just had one win each and they went their separate ways. We don't need a rubber match. Would I watch it? Yeah, of course I would. But if I had a choice, I'm with you. Benavides and Bivol for me is the fight. And then after that, it is Benavides and Opetaya. Super fight at cruiserweight. Probably one of the biggest fights ever, you would think, at cruiserweight. I'm just trying to think. Holyfield never had a really big fight at cruiserweight. And, he beat Carlos de Leon to unify the belts, I remember. Usyk's probably had a couple, but Yeah, I don't know. I think Opatar and Benavides would definitely be one of the biggest fights of all time anyway, at that weight. Yes, B. David Tua or Joseph Parker, who would you say is the best New Zealand boxer ever? Good question. They've had a few, I suppose, over the journey. Yes, BB. I would say David Tua. I would think David Tua would have knocked Joseph Parker out. Yeah. He was a devastating puncher. David Tua and Joseph Parker, style-wise, I think would be absolutely perfect for David Tua to iron out, I would think. If Joseph Parker managed to get past, the fifth round, maybe sixth round, I would think he would be in with a chance. But, geez, David Tua, how dangerous was he early in the fight? I just think Joseph Parker, not the most fleet-footed guy, not the fastest guy with his hands and head and all that. Good overall boxer. But David Tua, especially early, was so devastating. I would think David Tua would beat Joseph Parker. So I'm going to stick with David Tua as the best. Yes, BB. Shadow boxer. Ben Damon was the one who started the whole soul taker nonsense. Ben, you'd like to answer for there, mate. Look, end of the day, as I said before, a lot of nicknames are bestowed upon people, and obviously Ben did that. I remember the best, or one of the best ever, was Howard Lee, who named Lester Ellis the Master Blaster, one of the best nicknames ever, I think, the Master Blaster, and it suited Lester Ellis to a T. And then we had Scott Brower, who was the Mini Blaster. Great man, Scott Brower is one of the head guys on the Victorian Combat Board. Great guy, and was a very, very good boxer in his day as well. He was supposed to be the second coming of Lester Ellis. They used to call him the Mini Blaster, of course. Used to fight on Jeff Fennick's undercards all the time. And I think it was actually Ray Connolly who gave Jeff Fennick the nickname the Marrickville Mauler as well. So sometimes they're not all bad, but the Soul Taker, Ben, got to do better than that, mate. Good man too, though, Ben. All right, so Tony, you were saying the same thing. All right, Timmy, I like questions like this. In your perfect world, how many belts would you like for each division? Well, obviously it's one, Timmy, but worst case, two. I got no dramas with two champions at the same time. As I said, ideally it's one. But yeah, if there was two, at least you could have two champions running parallel. So you got two, you only got two sets of rankings, so less confusion amongst the contenders underneath. And you can I suppose, go between the two, but there'd be more, I think there'd be a lot more possibilities of unification fights, because when there's two, of course, one or both of those guys wants to be number one. When there's four, it's like, we'll all coexist together. We'll all just try and make money, and I'll pick and choose what I'm going to do. But when there's two, there's that rivalry between both of them, and eventually they're going to want to fight each other. And as I said, a lot more ability to make a unification fight. So one preferably, Timmy, but if I had to make a choice, two as well would be acceptable. Andy. Tim the Tiger Zoo. Sounds all right as a replacement name. Tim the Tiger. I would like Terrible Tim Zoo. No, that probably doesn't sound that good either, does it? And doesn't really suit his personality either. Give me your thoughts there, guys. Let's see some nicknames for Tim Zoo. It's too late now. He's gone with the Phoenix, but I'm thinking. What I was going to say. I'll say then Terrible Tim Zoo. No. Tim. I don't know. Give me your thoughts, guys. I'll have to have a think about it. I might have a think about it overnight and let you know in the walking boxing tomorrow. What's that? G'day, Ed. How you going, mate? What's that, Lyndon's just stopping in to show respect. 2:51 here. I'm going to sleep for work Monday. Well, thanks for tuning in, Ed. I know it's very, very late at night, is it? Or early morning over there. Really appreciate you tuning in, mate. And sleep well and have a good day at work tomorrow. I must be well behind, am I? Timmy, I think I was watching Inoue MJ fight when Hatton news broke. Yeah. Okay. Yep. I think it would have been, well, as I said, I was asleep when it happened and got up and saw it on. So, because the first thing I always do is check my social media, not normal social media. I'm not really interested in that, but it's just the boxing news, what's happened. And the first thing that come up on, I think it was Facebook or whatever, was he was gone. And as I said before, it's like, wow, are you kidding me? Ricky Hatton, of all people. All right. Drew, not sure who wins the Nikita Zarafa fight. One thing is for sure, if Michael hurts or drops Nikita like other lesser domestic fighters have done, he won't give him the same off-the-hook moments. I'm with you, Drew. That's the one big risk, I would think. But you can't... Well, the reason I'm not factoring that in is because that can happen in any fight. And I don't think you could say, I'm talking about myself here, that I wouldn't pick a winner on what sort of could happen with a lucky punch or a well-placed punch or whatever. I'm sort of looking at, all right, fighter for fighter, who wins? And that's why I'm picking Nikita. Of course, there's the prospect of Zarafa landing one. There might be the prospect of Nikita landing one as well. But I'm just looking at straight up and down, fight, or mano a mano, as they say. I just see Nikita just picking Michael Zarafa apart. And you're right, if he does get hit, or nailed, then anything could happen. But I'm not just going to go, well, I think Nikita will win. But if Michael lands a punch, no, I think overall Nikita will be winning the fight, but I think Zarafa will land a big punch and end the fight. I'm not going to go based on that. Is it a possibility? 100%. But as far as just mano a mano, I'm picking Nikita to pick Michael Zarafa apart. Big J, no chance the chump gets slept in 30 seconds, glass jaw. Well, talk yourself up there, Big J. I'm sticking with my man, Jay. What's that, Andy? Big J. Linda's already betting against you. Oh, sorry, Big J. Sorry. Yeah, Shazora White pay-per-view. Hell no. Yep. What do we got here? Okay. Tony, regarding Shazora White 3, even if I illegally streamed it, I'd demand my money back. Zero interest. Yeah. Why would you possibly think people are going to pay that, Tony? I mean, maybe in England. Maybe in England, probably a little bit like Mundine versus Green. People like it meant nothing to people overseas. People like, are you kidding me? But here in Australia, it was actually big news. It was a big fight, and I don't know what the pay-per-view numbers was or were, but I'm assuming it would have been massive. So, yeah, maybe in England they could probably charge it, but are we really going to pay for that in Australia? Sure. Not only do you have to pay for the fight, you got to get up at like 4 or 5 in the morning to watch the bloody thing. So I don't know. Drew. I have absolutely no drama in scoring rounds. I've even stupidly heard commentators say you shouldn't score more than one even round. If it's there to be used appropriately, just score an even round. Drew, you're right, but I prefer not to have even rounds. I will say I'll always look for something to give the round to a fighter. But you're right. If it's even, then call it even. I'm not going to argue with that. But just for me personally, I would prefer a judge look at it and make the call. But again, what happens if one fighter dominates 2 minutes and 55 seconds and the other one scores a flash knockdown? I mean, that's the hard thing. And I've heard people try and explain it to me numerous times, and 5 different people have explained it 5 different ways. So your guess is as good as mine. Oh, thanks, Eminem. Lilo Talape is off Friday night's card due to injury, which is a shame. I'm keen to see more of him. Yeah, he goes all right, doesn't he, Talape? I don't mind him. Richard, yes, money talks, and especially oil money. This is in regards to everyone sort of suddenly not caring about the morals of Saudi Arabia and what they've done to the Western world in the last 25 years. But anyway, yes, Joe, happy birthday, Larry Holmes. I did comment on this morning. Joe, it is his birthday. He is 76 years of age and one of my absolute favourite fighters of all time, Larry Holmes. Just one of the first fighters I remember seeing. Well, probably would have been almost the first big fight I'd ever seen as a 9-year-old or 8-year-old. I think it was 1982, so it would have been probably 8 years old, I reckon. And that was Larry Holmes, Jerry Cooney on Channel 7 or 9, whatever it was. I remember sitting down. That was the first big fight I'd ever seen live, and I remember just being so impressed by Larry Holmes. Devastated that he beat Jerry Cooney. I was a big fan of Jerry, but after that, Larry, I started to follow him a lot more, and those unbelievable fights with Tim Witherspoon and Bone Crusher Smith and those types of guys. Yeah, he was a legend, mate, and I would have him in the top sort of 3, maybe 4 heavyweights of all time. Andy, we seriously need more free-to-air live Aussie boxing platforms. Would be great to get up-and-coming fighters some spotlight to build reputations among general public, in my opinion. Make boxing great again. Andy, I hear you. And Angelo DiCarlo tried to do this in the last 2 years with the, what was it, 7 Mate? Was it 7 Mate or 7 Plus? I think it was 7 Plus. Didn't work. Tried to do the talk show on 7 Plus. Tried to do he did do the monthly boxing shows, and you know what? Even as much as boxing fans loved it, 7 Plus went, not big enough for us, not big enough numbers. We're going to axe it. So unfortunately, when the mainstream channels don't want nothing to do with it, it's going to be hard. It all just comes down to streaming services. But a lot of those will put it on, but they want to charge you for it, and of course they have to. They've got to make some money out of it as well. Free to air, mate. Nah, not going to happen. I wouldn't have thought. If it's on an app, they're going to charge you for it, and if it's on, well, it won't be on free to air. I'd be staggered if we ever had boxing on free to air ever again, and you can see that even overseas. I mean, Top Rank was with ESPN for 45 years, and now that's come to an end, and it doesn't seem like there's any boxing on free-to-air channels anymore. So it's a shame, but that's just the way it is these days, I suppose. What's that, Andy? You must have earned some street cred beating up some crims. You're a real one, yeah. Wouldn't say I'm a real one, mate, but look, I remember back, this is me sparring prisoners back in the day, but I remember being a little bit intimidated walking in. But I got a little bit of confidence when the guards were saying, yeah, make sure you bash that one and bash that one. And they loved it. They used to love seeing us going there and beating up the crims. But it probably didn't hit me till I got to sort of being an adult, thinking, geez, what was my trainer doing taking me into a fully fledged adult prison to spar? Obviously, I had a lot of faith in us. But it didn't dawn on me about, look, you took me to a male prison to let me punch on with criminals, hardened criminals, by the way. But obviously had a lot of faith in us, and we always did okay. It was never any drama. We never got hurt or anything. We obviously, I think it was a good way to harden us up and expose us to, you know, how brutal boxing can be sometimes. And it was fun. I actually enjoyed it back in the day. I remember there was one night we went there, and it was my brother actually sparred one of the, I can't remember who he sparred, but it was one of the main sort of guys of the gym, one of the, I won't say shot callers, one of those type of guys, but he was very well respected. And they did it in like a little courtyard sort of thing. So all the crims were up around the railing, you know, like it was tiered. So it was like this, you know, like you see in Street Fighter or a Van Damme movie or something, that all these crims about 3 or 4 levels up, all watching down, all cheering and yelling and going nuts at this guy trying to kill her brother. It was crazy. All I could think was, geez, I'm glad I'm not in there. I did fight in a gym, though, with about 100 people surrounding it like a cockfight, Andy. I think I've told you about that. I was at the Brizzy Brothers gym for the first fight in the Olympic trials in 96, where I fought Pierre Karam. I'm sure a lot of you out there are familiar with Pierre. We fought in I know I've told this story before, but in a gym, the Brizzy Brothers gym. And not elevated at all, just on the floor, flat bit of canvas with 100 people surrounding it. And all yelling and cheering and being able to be right on the ropes, by the way. So there was no perimeter around the ring. They were all actually literally on the ropes of the ring. It was pretty crazy. What's that? We need more sparring stories like that. Yeah, well, I've got a lot of stories I could probably tell, Shadow Boxer. Just ask me some questions. I'm sure when you ask questions, it'll bring up some memories. But yeah, as I said, I'm just staggered that that's what my trainer did back in the day. Take a 15-year-old kid into prison to punch on with adult prisoners. Andy, Jai versus Badu unification before Undisputed is a great route to undeniable recognition, in my opinion. I'm with you there, Andy. I think it's a really good route for Jai. I know he would prefer to fight Ramirez straight away, but I don't mind the Badu Jack fight straight up. What would that be? The WBC and IBF, and then it makes sense that those two guys fight for all the belts. What's that? Pat Brown's US debut ended in another savage early KO. Definitely one to watch in the cruiserweight division. Is he the Pommy guy, Ado? I think I did see that. I didn't see the fight. I just saw an article about him. I think he's with Eddie Hearn, isn't he? I think. The Pommy guy. I think he said he reminded him of Rocky Marciano or something like that, I think he said. Keep an eye on him anyway, Ado. By sounds of things, he can fight a bit. Julian, Nikita will knock Zurafa out in the 6th. Nikita has the killer instinct. Yeah, well, we'll see. Yep, Tommy Fury beat Jake. Yeah, it says a lot about Jake Paul, doesn't it? Richard Ngannou is a funny one. 0-2 against 2A grade boxers, but seems to just want a payday. Also doing stuff all in MMA after the Dana debacle. Waste of talent and could still go. Yeah, it's a dangerous one for Jake Paul, though, isn't it, Richard? Good one for Ngannou. If he loses to Jake Paul, who cares? Whatever. He still gets a really good payday out of it. But if he wins, who knows what could happen after that? Probably not a lot, I wouldn't have thought. But anyway. Yeah, Tony. Yes, the Bully Blaster. Shannon Taylor. Very, very good fighter back in the day. Like that nickname. Evening. Hope everyone's well. Looking forward to watching Ortiz punch holes in Lubin this weekend. Yeah, it'd be an excellent fight, that Naz. And yeah, I'm backing Ortiz to probably stop Lubin as well. The Kiwi UFC fighter Dan Henderson runs a Kiwi 1 minute round robin boxing for 50 grand with no break between fights. It's quite good with UFC gloves. Okay, there you go. So what is it? A 1 minute round robin boxing. Oh, it's boxing. Okay. Oh, but with UFC gloves. So it's not boxing. It's more like brawling, I suppose, because a brawlers are boxing rules just with UFC gloves. But yours is almost, well, that Dan Henderson one's almost a hybrid of the brawling, because a brawling is 4 2-minute rounds, boxing 4 2-minute rounds of boxing with UFC gloves. This is brawling with 1 minute rounds with UFC gloves. So what's next? Anyway, I won't be doing my concept anyway, John. So it doesn't matter. I'm retired for good. Tony, Tim, turkey slap zoo. Oh, you're a bad man, Tony. What's that, John? You have great body rips on tape on you. Oh, thanks, John. Yeah, a long time ago, mate. But yeah, I practice that a lot, and that's probably one thing I say to all young guys coming up. Go to the body, practice body punches, and if you are going to the body, I've said on here before my little lesson, my 5-second lesson or 10-second lesson. If the shoulders are the corridor, when you go to the body, make sure you step outside the corridor. So you step outside the shoulders when you go to the body. Okay, minimizes risk, but also enhances the power. So there's my little tip. Okay, so if you're a body puncher or whatever, shoulders are here, there's the corridor. Make sure you step outside the corridors if you're going to the body. Do not throw a body punch while you're in the corridor, or else not only you're in danger of getting knocked out, but you're also going to minimize your power. So there you go. But thanks for watching anyway, John. I appreciate it, mate. Forget about the Phoenix. Tim, the animal zoo. I don't mind that. I don't mind that, Drew. What about the petting? Tim, the petting zoo. Something like that. What's that? Treacherous Tim. Not too bad, Chandler. Yep. How do we score a 1 minute round? Well, with great difficulty there, Chandler. That's what I said before. The 1 minute thing will be hard for judges. Very, very hard. But that's not what I'm worried about at the moment. It's about entertainment. But yeah, it will be 10-9 or whatever it might be. Maybe I'd have my own spin on it and do. Actually, what I would, if I had a clear access to change the rules on judging, Chandler, that's what I would do in my turbo boxing. Maybe it's only five points or whatever it is for the winner of the round, and then work your way back to 1. But the way I would do it, and this is what I would also do in normal boxing if I had a say, would be, well, we'll start with the normal boxing at the moment, 10-9. 10-9, and then the ability to go right back to 10-6 based on dominance. Okay, I know a knockdown gives you 10-8, but if it's let's just say it's a really dominant round, a very, very dominant round without getting a knockdown, we'll score at 10-8. If it's a really, really dominant round with a knockdown, we'll score at 10-7. If it's a super competitive round and there's a knockdown, score at 10-9. So to have it tiered, not just this, it's 10-9 to whoever wins a round. It's 10-8 if there's a knockdown, 10-7 is 2 knockdowns, or 10-6 that has been, the fight's normally stopped by the time it gets to there, but have it to give the judges more flexibility, okay? Because I feel for the judges sometimes because their hands are tied. I've got no other way to score it. They should have, and that's what I would do in mine, 5 rounds for the winner of the round, and then 4, 3, 2, right down to 1 compared to, or just in relation to how dominant the fighter is. So if someone just wins the round, okay, it's 5-4. If it's a really dominant round, it's 5-3. If it's a dominant round with a knockdown, it's 5-2. If it's a really dominant round with 2 knockdowns, it's 5-1. And anything after that should be stopped. That's the way I would score it. Chandler? Tim Knuckle Stew Zoo. Knuckle sandwich, knuckle stew. Yep, I don't mind it. Might rip the top turnbuckle apart with his teeth. Yeah, never know. Any news, Ree Cooper? Big news coming, Eminem. I can't say anything at the moment. This is Cooper O'Connell. Still over in Vegas. I did see sparred with a former world champion, or I think he was a world champion the other day. So doing really good things over there, and some big news coming as far as his career goes, mate. But just stay tuned on that. I can't say anything too soon. I sure hope. George Animal Steel. So yep, be like him. Tim Zoo needs a ring name that starts with N, so he can be abbreviated to TNT. Yep, can't think of any though. Nuclear Zoo? No. Tim Nuclear Zoo. No, that doesn't work, does it? Tim... Don't know. I like it though. TNT. Don't mind it. Tim... Oh, don't say that, Drew. Son of Costa Zoo. I don't think he'd like that at all. Yeah, he would hate that name, Tony. Did you bring any of the prisoners a cake with a hacksaw in it? No, mate. You know what? I don't reckon they ever searched our bags either, you know. I just think they used to wave us through. I hope I'm wrong. I hope they used to check our bags, because that sort of makes you worry about what's getting in there, doesn't it? But, I'm sure they did. I just can't remember it. But no cakes there, Drew. Glenn, how are you, Glenn? Yeah, turkey slap. Don't mind it. Thanks, Glenn. Yep, on the body shots. Yep, remember, outside the... That also goes with throwing an uppercut or a hook. Okay, it always does my head in when I see boxers who have got really good technique, but they'll throw an uppercut or a hook from inside the corridor. And as I said before, the corridor is the shoulders. Okay, so if you're a young aspiring boxer out there, I said about the body shots, but also applies to uppercuts and hooks. Anything that's not a straight punch. Step outside the corridor before you throw it. Step outside, push off the front foot, and that's where your power is going to come from. Okay, so just I'm not going to charge you for anything. That's the little tip for free tonight. Step outside the corridor if you're throwing anything other than a straight punch. It's safer and you get more power. Remember to twist those hips and shoulders as well. All right, Mutty, how are you, mate? I'm here late, so you might have already discussed it. What was Rafa's get up with McAllister? Yeah, I've already discussed that, Mutty. Goes back about 4 years, and when Jay retweeted something about Zarafa pulling out of the Tim Zoo fight. He's never forgotten that it has Michael Zarafa, and I think Jay might have asked him for an interview or something. He pretty much told him to go jump on his head. So we're going to have to get Jay on here to actually explain it, I reckon. Shadowboxer, who's the most famous person you've ever sparred? Ooh, good question, Shadowboxer. Lester Ellis, I suppose. Back in the day, to spar everyone around Melbourne. Tony Miller, even sparred Dave Russell, Craig Trotter. I'm trying to think. Probably Lester Ellis, I reckon, Shadowboxer. I remember Queen, not that he was a big name. Ernie Artango was a good fighter. Jeff Malcolm is another one. Just trying to think. I'm sure there's got to be someone a bit more famous than that. But yeah, probably Lester Ellis or Jeff Malcolm. Probably Lester, I would say, Shadowboxer. Sparred when I was about 13 or 14, I reckon. And my idol back in the day was Lester, the Master Blaster. Tim Taipan Zoo. Yeah, not bad, Julian. The Taipan. What's that? Changing boxing judging, starting to sound like Dana right now. Sorry, Ryan. Just joking. All right. Evening all. This is Jules. I asked ChatGPT to come up with a ring name for Tim, and it gave me Tim Zoo Pernova. Can you tell ChatGPT to go back to the drawing board, Jules? I don't like that one. Tim Zupanova. Nah, don't like that. Well, with the last name Zoo, I mean, it should be pretty easy, shouldn't it? Shouldn't it? I mean, someone said before, was it, what was the other one you said? Animal Zoo? I said Petting Zoo. Maybe it's no, I won't say that one. What did Charlo say? Kazoo, Tim Kazoo. Oh yeah, I did see that, Tony. Justin Carl Froch to replace Tank. Is that for real, Tony? I did see him say something about it today. Jeez, I thought he was only joking. Who has the best ring name in boxing? Does Phoenix crack the top 10? Oh, geez, you're going to have to let me think about that, Jules. I mean, there's a couple of monsters out there. Best ring name. Hang on. Oh, no, I won't go through the rankings. So heavyweight, no. Cruiserweight, no. Light heavyweight, no. Nothing really at middleweight. Anything at 154? Probably not. Boots, I don't mind Boots. Tank's a pretty good one, but I don't mind Boots. I don't know. Let me know the best names anyway, guys. We might have to do a walking boxing episode in that. The best ring names in boxing. G'day, Thurko, 2024. Welcome to the show. We've only got about 10 minutes to go, but anything to say there, mate, let me know. Glenn, had lunch with the cowboy yesterday. Good, hope he's doing well there, mate. Glenn, is this Justin Rousey you're talking about there? He's in good form and having dinner with Johnny Lewis tonight. Says he enjoys your show when he watches. Oh, that's good to see he watches it. Very, very good boxer in the day was Glenn. Glenn was Justin. Glenn was he was a gun amateur. Didn't really make it in the pros, but as an amateur, highly ranked in the world rankings and very, very good character of the sport as well. I actually watched when Ricky Hatton died, what was it, a month or two ago. I actually went through a few of Ricky's fights, and one of them was Justin Rousey. Didn't end well for Justin, of course, because Ricky Hatton just brutalised him over 2 rounds. And I think Jeff Fennick stopped the fight. But, yeah, he was certainly a character back in the day, mate. Was Justin Rousey. I actually never met him officially, but always loved watching him fight. And as an amateur, he was sort of the class before I came on board. He was more up to, I think I won my first Australian title in 92. He just turned pro, I think, after the 92 Olympics, which was Barcelona. So I never actually crossed paths with him, but I always admired him and respected him as an amateur fighter that I really looked up to when I was coming through. So a lot of respect for the cowboy. Thurko, Tim, what's my name? Zoo, don't mind that one. Probably a bit hard to put on a poster though, Thurko, but I don't mind it. Cal, Lester Ellis's, is that Eli? No, Ellis's was a good fight. Who had great hands when you're at Carlton? Oh, haven't really been asked that before, Richard. If you didn't know, I was the boxing coach at Carlton for a year back in 2008. I could probably tell you the worst straight off, Richard, and I hope he doesn't watch this show. I do actually talk to him every now and then. The Fev, Brendan Favola, he had probably the worst hands I've ever seen in boxing. Fev, if you're watching, I love you, mate, but I'm glad you never got in the ring. Thought he could go all right, Fev, but unfortunately I remember watching him and I'm like, oh my God. I love you, Fev. But for the best hand, well, I think it was a few of the Indigenous boys, Richard. I think Andrew Walker could really handle himself okay. Little Eddie Betts went okay as well. Heath Scotland was okay. They were probably the main ones from memory. But I think out of all of them, Andrew Walker was the one I looked at and thought, this guy can go all right. I remember Jordan Bannister was there. His dad was it Brian? No, what was his name? His dad was a TV ringside fighter. But Jordan was the player at Carlton. Really nice guy too, by the way. And he could go really well also. But I remember just for looking at someone who hadn't really done a lot of boxing and thinking this guy could probably make it, was Andrew Walker. And again, the Indigenous boys they all could just naturally fight. But he was probably the pick, was Andrew Walker. And good to see that the Blues are going to pick up his son next year and the father's son, Cody Walker. So we'll get past 2026 for starters, and hopefully we improve on the ladder there, Richard. And then hopefully with Cody Walker the year after, we'll be back where we belong, mate, and dominating the AFL. Oh, no, Ryan. Tim Glass, Joe Zoo. That's not very nice. That's true. Oh, Glenn says that's true about Frocky or Kill Paul. He still keeps in good nick too, apparently, Glenn. So we'll see. Yeah, the Motor City Cobra. Best name ever. Yep, the Motor City Cobra. I don't mind that one. That was Thomas Hearns, by the way. Yep, Monster's a great name. It's pretty cliched these days, though, Mutsy. David the Terminator Tour. Didn't know that was his name. Frotch, yep, I didn't. Yeah, I haven't seen anything yet either, Timmy, about Carl Frotch stepping in, but that's big news if it is. That is true. Okay, it's on his YouTube channel. I know what I'll be looking at after we get off here. Oh, is that right? He's living in Victoria. Knows your brother well. I can hook you up. I didn't know that, Glenn. Is he in? What the hell is he doing in Victoria, Glenn? What the hell? Why the hell would you move to Victoria for? The machete capital of Australia. And the most taxed state in Victoria, the most dangerous state in Victoria, the most demonstrations and protests and all this other shit in Australia. Why would he possibly move to Victoria? Oh, my God. But I hope he's doing well, mate. We'll have to get him up to the pub one day for one of the fight days. That'd be good. I'm sure it'd be good to get all the fight fans to come and see him. So get him to the fights. Glenn, let me know, does he go to the fights in Melbourne? Drew, best ring name was a Brockton Blockbuster, Rocky Marciano. I used to like Marvelous, Marvin Hagler. I didn't mind that one. Who else was there? Oh, the Tasmanian Devil, Vinny Pazienza, of course, my favourite, the Pazman. Yeah, Ryan, go the Baggers. Timmy, Carl is ready to step in, but I don't see anything that confirms he's a replacement opponent signed. Okay, yep. Tim, bless you, Zoo. Is that meant to be like a sneeze? Bless you, Zoo. Check out Pat Brown. He's 26 and very good. Will be a title contender. Okay, yeah, I haven't seen anything of him, Thurko, as I said today, or said before I saw him today, just the article about him, but I'll definitely make a note to look him up on YouTube, mate. Eddie Betts would walk under the bottom rope. He went all right. I used to love Eddie Betts. He was just the man. Just such a good guy. Just a real character, but absolute freak out on the footy field, Eddie Betts. But the nicest guy you'll ever meet. Real character. Just a great guy was Eddie Betts. And surprisingly, all the Carlton guys, and I call them guys, they were just young men. You sort of forget, not just Carlton, but all the footy players, whether that be AFL or NRL, just how young they are. I mean, all the Carlton guys were 21, 22, 23. I mean, just babies. And look at them, think these guys they're all gun footballers, and they're all just kids. All right, Chandler's poured water on it. He said he's not stepping in to fight Jake Paul. He said it on his YouTube channel. Okay. Glenn works for a construction company that lands contracts and moves state to state. Okay, all right. So he's based in Victoria, but not necessarily living here. Is that right, Glenn? He just sort of gets around. Tell him to get out of here as quick as he can, mate. Go back to New South Wales. Where's he from? Casino, wasn't he? I think Justin was. Tell him to go back to Casino. It's a lot better and safer than Victoria. Because if I didn't like where I live so much, I'd be out of here in 2 seconds flat. Yeah, I don't mind this one. The Towering Inferno. Don't mind it. Yeah, now that's obviously Sebastian Fundora, but was that also Julius Long? Was that his name as well? Big Julius, the Towering Inferno. There you go. And he hates Victoria. I don't blame him, Glenn. Now, that's hard for me to say as well, I will comment, because I've lived here my whole life, or bar the first 2 or 3 years of my life, I lived in Darwin, of all places, Glenn. Lived up there, and I think we might have been up there when the cyclone hit, and I might have left just before that, actually. I might have been 1 or 2 years old. I can't remember. But I lived in Victoria my whole life, and I've always been a very passionate and proud Victorian, Glenn. And going away on all those boxing trips with all the Queenslanders and New South Welshmen used to always hang shit on me for being Victoria. I always wore my Victoria gear with pride. But now, Glenn, I'm actually embarrassed to be a Victorian. And I hate to say it because I love Victoria, always have. Used to love Melbourne, won't go there now. And the current government running it, not getting all political. I'm just stating my opinion. I think the current Labor government that has been in for a long, long time have absolutely rooted this state. So whether you're just a citizen or a business person, investor, whatever it might be, they have completely stuffed the state. So get out while you can, if you can. Yeah, Ryan, yeah, Eddie's a beautiful human. He certainly is there, mate. Yep, and Julius Long was the man. Actually had him on my first ever promotion, Chandler, was Julius Long. He came over and fought Justin Whitehead in Bendigo. Didn't know anything about Julius. Seen a picture of him. Thought, yeah, well, record was not great. He come over here and unfortunately gave Justin Whitehead a bit of a touch-up in his hometown, and I never got delivered down. But anyway, it is what it is. I didn't know any better. All right, guys. Well, that is it. We are right on 9 o'clock, which means the 2 hours is up. As always, really appreciate everyone tuning in. Make sure you watch every day Walking Boxing. It's on by about 10 a.m. Every day, around about. Apologies if I don't get to upload to Spotify at the same time. As I said before, sometimes I'm in the car and gone after I've uploaded it, and it takes a little bit of time to actually get it onto Spotify. I've got to go through a couple of processes, so I always get it on Spotify, but it might be later in the day. So that's it, guys. Again, really appreciate everyone tuning in. Have a great week, and we'll catch you next Monday on Talking Boxing.